Welcome to the JazzSmart podcast. My name's James Rawlinson, and today I will be talking to award-winning clarinetist and composer Emma Johnson. With over 30 recordings and 37 years of professional playing and worldwide touring under her belt, we're incredibly happy to be welcoming Emma in April as she heads up our Clarinet Weekend on the 9th and 10th of April. Recorded in February 2022, I was lucky enough to catch up with Emma and ask her questions about her playing career as a clarinetist and also our upcoming workshop in April with her. For those who are less familiar with you as a player, how would you describe what you do exactly?
I'm a clarinetist and musician, and I suppose what I have specialised in is playing solo clarinet. So that means giving recitals with piano or playing concertos with orchestras. I also have my own chamber music group, which can be a trio or it can be as large as a dectet. And I play jazz as well with my jazz trio. And I've basically spent the last however many years you said it was travelling often all over the world, giving solo concerts, and sort of I think I've become an advocate for the clarinet as a solo instrument, because it's very much thought of as something that only plays within the orchestra, but it's such a versatile instrument that it definitely deserves the accolade of being counted as a solo instrument.
So, as far as your education, I'm assuming you learnt at school. I mean, I started as a recorder player at school. Used to hold it the wrong way round with the wrong hand at one end and was told I'd never make a musician. Probably that's why I became a musician, just to spite the teacher. But was the clarinet something, I mean, what age, because this is a discussion I often have with pupils, of what age it's appropriate. If you look from some of the older tutor books, they suggest you shouldn't start the clarinet till 14 and maybe older because of the issues of covering the holes up. And what age was it that you started the clarinet, and what drew you to the clarinet in the first place?
Well, like you, I did start on the recorder. I was given one for Christmas when I was about 4, I think. And so the clarinet seemed like a logical thing to jump to. From being rather obsessed by the recorder, I think I started the clarinet at about the age of 9. That to me seems like quite a good age, because your hands usually are big enough to fit the whole instrument by then, and it's quite a heavy instrument to hold as well, isn't it? So I think that seems about right. I suppose the essence, though, of clarinet technique is singing, breathing, and so on, and of course a really nice tone that probably does come with being a little bit bigger and slightly older, but there's no harm at all in starting as young as you'd like to, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I personally didn't have that problem, but maybe it's literally down to, I guess, the physiology of it, whether you've got fingers. I've wondered whether, I know that certain manufacturers produce plateau clarinets with covered holes and things like this, which I think they're missing a trick there, because I do have pupils that definitely struggle into the higher register and crossing the break because of that. But that's a whole other discussion. So having won the Young Musician of the Year at 17, reading through your biography, you went down the university route. Was that was that the fact that you would prefer to keep your options open, or you didn't fancy going down the conservatoire route? What was the reasoning behind that, or is it so,
I think you're right. It was keeping my options open, right, because I adored music and really, really wanted to be a musician. But as we all know, it's not the most straightforward path to choose, and you never know if you're going to get your lucky break or what's going to happen. So I just thought it would be wise to try and get a degree under my belt as well. So I have to say it was extremely hard work trying to fit that in, and also giving concerts at the same time and getting my playing, as rock solid as I could. And it really was hard work. But looking back, I am pleased that I did that, because I think a degree gives you a very general, a wider outlook on the world. And also, I use quite a lot of the things that I learned through doing a more academic course, the skills of arranging, or even of just being able to write quite fluently so that you can talk about what you're doing and write about it. So, it's surprising. Quite a lot of what I learned has actually been very useful.
Yeah, definitely. This is the second time you've mentioned having this approach of having a wide range of skills, because I think that's something that I teach, or I suggest to all of my pupils. And over the years, there's been a number of them go off. A lad I teach just gone off to the Royal Northern on saxophone, and a clarinetist I've taught, he's gone off to Southampton, doing quite a wide-ranging course. But I say to them, obviously, this isn't the type of job where you get your qualification, you walk into a building and you ask for a job. It requires you're self-employed, and it requires a massive range of skills, doesn't it? So it's
yes, I mean, you've got to be quite imaginative and think what people might like you to do, what they might need, and not be timid about coming up with new ideas and selling them to people, and thinking how you would like, what's your vision of music and concerts and how they should be.
Obviously, well, not obviously, but looking at your website, there's a number of publications you produced as a composer as well. I remember, I think, the last round of ABRSM publications that came out. As a teacher, you get to know these very well, playing them with hundreds of pupils. One of my favourites was a piece you wrote called Georgie, which was on one of the graded exams. Is that something that has developed, or have you always been a keen composer, or is that something that developed with time?
It developed with time. I started off doing it at my degree all those years ago, but it's only more recently that I've found that I've had time to actually sit down and put my ideas on paper, and I've found that I really love doing it. The only advantage of the pandemic was that it meant that I had more time to myself, and so I've written a clarinet concerto, actually, that I'm hoping to premiere in September, which is about the climate crisis, so quite topical thing. And next month I'm recording some Christmas music that I've written for clarinet and choir. And there's really not very much for that combination. It's a beautiful combination, works really well. So going to Gloucester Cathedral next month to record with Gloucester Cathedral Choir for a Christmas CD of my music.
So with the recording, I think it says 30 recordings and counting under your belt. Do you enjoy, I mean, I've done a fair amount of recording myself over the years for different things. Do you enjoy the recording process, or is that something that is just a necessary evil, or going into studios, or does that something that interests you, the whole recording thing?
I think the essence of it for me is live performance and performing in front of an audience. So I try and aim for recordings to be as close to that atmosphere as possible. a couple of my latest CDs with my group, we've actually recorded them live in concert, just to try and recreate. There's always a sort of special excitement, that relationship between the performer and the audience. It often brings some indefinable, intangible, special quality to the performance. And if you're not careful in recording, you can lose that. It can sound a bit sterile or flat, So I think of recording more as a necessary evil rather than the actual core thing of what a musician does.
So I'd get emails if I don't ask these questions. So we get questions from people about the equipment that people use. I remember speaking to you before. We were talking about clarinets, and you told me that your clarinet is made by is it Peter Eaton? Is it that?
Yes. He's an English clarinet maker based in Surrey.
Right.
I think the last really of cottage industry clarinet makers. It's rather sad that now most clarinets are made by one or two companies in big factories. I've found it a great advantage to have a very close relationship with the maker of my instrument, because it means that I understand the instrument itself on quite a good level, and that he can also take my thoughts and input and alter my instrument slightly if that's what I'd like. So I've really found it important to have a good relationship with my clarinet maker.
Does he have a website, or is he?
Yes, Peter Eaton. He does. Yes. Unfortunately, I think he's near to retirement age. I don't dare ask him how old he is.
Get in quickly then if you want a clarinet with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. And I mean, I've talked to a lot of our past guests on the podcast about influences and players that influenced their playing or inspired them. Are there particular players? I think I read at Cambridge, were you tutored by, was it Jack Brymer? It was one.
Yeah, yes. I had a lot of lessons from Jack Brymer, even while I was studying music at university. And he's really a huge influence, I think. And I admired other English players such as Gervais Dupire. I also really love some of the jazz players, Benny Goodman, Artie Shaw, and so on. I find it very exciting, their freedom on the instrument, and then they're not afraid to make lots of different sound qualities and so on. I really love that, and have tried to bring some of that into my classical playing. So there are many influences, and of course it doesn't have to be a clarinettist. I particularly love, for example, Ella Fitzgerald, and just adore her singing, so I'm sure that's in there somewhere. I'm always listening to her when I go for a run or something. So
Well, obviously JazzSmart, with a name like that, you'd assume that all of our courses were jazz based, but they're not, as this course demonstrates. There may be a bit of jazziness on the course, no doubt, from what you've just said. What have we got to expect on the 9th and 10th of April then, over the weekend on the course?
Well, I'm very much looking forward to meeting everybody, and everybody will be of different standards and have different approaches, of course, but they'll never at any point feel out of their comfort zone during this course. But first of all, I think we'll all try and work as a big group, and I've arranged some Mozart and a few other things that we can all play together just to get to know each other. There'll also be opportunities, if people want to play a solo or a duet, or in a small quartet or something, and that could be in a more conventional masterclass type setting, and I will give helpful comments. I also, there are certain topics that I definitely will cover during this weekend, such as sound production and good posture, which I really think are key to good clarinet playing. I think we might touch upon reeds, which I think are also very important, knowing, what exactly to do with your reed to get it to sound well. And, fast playing, articulation. We'll also, of course, address matters of performance, what you might call stagecraft. If people are having trouble with nerves as well, that's something we can all talk about. And so it's quite fluid, and I'll sort of partly go by what people seem to be interested in. But we'll definitely culminate with a concert at the end of some of these group pieces that we've been working on during the course of the weekend.
Well, I'm incredibly excited. Looking forward to April. There are 1 or 2 spaces left if you're listening to this before the course. And if you head over to JazzSmart.com and click on the Emma Johnson page, those 1 or 2 spaces are available to be booked up now. All I can say is a massive thank you to Emma for the interview, and we look forward to seeing you in April. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.